All right, so a few months ago there was a movie called A Desert, which I had heard some rumblings of previously, and it came to theaters, and we looked for showtimes, but we couldn't find any. And then Wyatt, a buddy of ours, who I have like almost identically the same taste as, he's probably the most reliable source for me as somebody who saw something and is like, you should see it, you should not see it. He was kind of lukewarm on it, so that just made me kind of stop the search for the showing in theaters. And I was like, oh, whatever, when it comes to VOD. Months later, here we are. So, A Desert. This is about a photographer who's out taking shots of abandoned buildings, and he gets himself mixed up with the wrong sort. And that's pretty much all I'll say about it, because the movie does take a turn that was unexpected, which, at least was something. So this is an interesting film for me, and I think for you too, because we talked about it a little bit. This film kind of has all the pieces to the puzzle of something that I would enjoy, but I guess those pieces don't fit together because the whole picture isn't something that I particularly loved. I didn't hate it for sure. Like, there's things to admire about it and things that I have complimentary to say towards it, but just as a whole together, it just lacks something. And I think my biggest complaint of the film would be its pacing, because even though the movie's only like an hour and 40 minutes long, somehow it felt like it was at least an hour longer than that.
Yeah, it felt really long. I don't know. This movie is a weird one because I think that it's like really competently made.
Yeah.
I think it's very artistic, and I really liked the style, and there's some really cool shots, and just the imagery in general I think is really cool. I like the photographs, that the photographer character is taking. And it was giving me some like David Lynch vibes here and there too, kind of like just random little moments, not anything majorly surreal, but just this kind of
Vibe.
yeah, just a vibe. And so I really wanted to like be super into it, but I had a very hard time like getting into this movie in general.
Yeah.
And I don't really know why. Because like you said, I think all the elements are there. I thought that the acting was pretty good from everybody. I like the story itself. Like, I think that it can be a compelling story, but for whatever reason it it didn't draw me in maybe soon enough. And then like you had just said, like the pacing just feels like it really drug by.
There's just not enough in between. Like, while I like those pieces that happen throughout, there's just a void in between them where, and I hate to use the term nothing happens, because that's one of the things that I get annoyed with when people talk about film and they're like, nothing in the movie happened. And there's definitely stuff that happens in the movie. It's just that the first 30 minutes for sure drags so hard. And it's like, it really genuinely feels like nothing is happening. And you're like, okay, like, I get that we're building this atmosphere of, seclusion and this kind of lone wolf in a strange land, and that he's vulnerable, and it's just such a quiet movie. There is music at times, and there can be some frantic moments here and there, and I'm not opposed. I mean, I feel like because I never know who's watching these, and if this is your first time ever on the channel, we're not people who hate on slow films. I
No,
can
not
give
at
you
all.
a laundry list of very, very slow movies in general, or horror movies, that I love. And there's something happening. There's an atmosphere that keeps me engaged. And this film was like trying to build this atmosphere, but it just never really felt consistent.
Yeah.
The atmosphere never felt like it held. It would sporadically pop up, but it was never a consistent feel for me. So there's moments here and there where maybe if I edited this thing down to these 20, 30 minutes, I'd be like, that's a consistent atmosphere throughout. Yeah. But there's all of these really like blank spots where there is no atmosphere. There really is nothing happening. There's nothing intriguing going on. There's nothing adding to the scene. There's nothing ominous. There's nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the movie loses itself, is you've got to put some kind of intrigue, something holding you in there, some kind of threat, some kind of, something that like a destiny, something the character's going after. Like, we don't even know what the character's doing for the first 10 minutes of the movie, and then once it's kind of revealed what he's doing, then we just continue to keep following that. Then when the movie kind of takes a shift and you go, okay, well, at least something finally happened, then we just kind of rinse, lather, repeat something similar until the climax. And I thought the climax was good, and then we have like a really interesting ending.
Yeah.
And if we could have had the last like 4 minutes of this movie like throughout, this would be great. Right? But it's just so dead in between. There's like a desert in between.
I mean, that I feel like it's intentional in some ways.
Yeah, sure.
But it definitely isn't the kind of film that it's very not hand-holdy. Which is also not something that is necessarily a problem.
No.
But I think that like general audiences will not like this film. I don't think that they will appreciate the artistic quality of it, or that they do need to kind of come up with their own conclusions as to what's happening and maybe what things mean, because there are a lot of very like, they're vague, but it's more like ambiguous stuff happening, I guess, where you kind of have to fill in the blanks for some things, which again, like, isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I don't know, for whatever reason this one just didn't land with us. I wish it had, because I would really like to love it.
Yeah.
But I think that it is a like well-made film. So
it'll have its audience.
Yeah, it for sure will.
As all things do. So if you're somebody who likes quiet horror that kind of like plots along for a little bit and then has like peaks and valleys to it, and you don't mind the slower pace, maybe give it a shot. See if you vibe with it more than we do. Knowing that going in might help. If you're kind of just like informed up front, like, hey, look, the movie is very quiet, very like dull for a lot of it, but there is enough to kind of stick around for if you're into that kind of thing. Then maybe like being prepared for that, it might work better for you. I don't know. I thought I had the movie figured out in the end, because there was like an end scene, and I was like, oh, I think I know where we're going, and it cuts to black, and I thought the movie was ending, and I was like, okay, I have an interpretation of that. And then it comes up again, and then it plays an extra like minute or two, and I was like, oh, then now I don't know. It completely took it away from me. So I had a very concrete theory of what just happened, but then it gets snatched. Because then the last minute, I have no fucking idea what happened then, because they tack something on that completely does away with any theory I have. Because I'm like, oh, okay, now I don't know. Now I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah.
So that was also kind of frustrating to me. I guess, I mean, that's pretty much it. The only other thing I'll say is movies need to stop pretending that hookers are this good looking. Something I kept remarking on in the film, like $40 hookers you pick up in secluded little nothing towns do not look like Ashley Smith. I looked up the actress and I was like, yeah, no. Absurd. Absurd. I've lived in big cities. I've lived in all sorts of places. I've seen hookers on street corners, and they don't look like this girl. So I just always find this fun. I point it out every time we watch a movie.
You do.
I'm just like, that is not what hookers look like. Watch Real Sex or whatever. They used to have this show on HBO I talk about where they like interview like real prostitutes and like actually show the whole process go down. Anyway, that's that. All right. Check it out at your own peril.
Yes.
Let us know. Adios.